You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Texas Democrats flew in from the state yesterday. They flew in to keep the Texas House from having a quorum. Well, Republicans are not happy at all. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says he is going to call a special session after special session until the election. He doesn't care. He says he will also have all of these Democrats arrested as best that he can. Yeah, that's literally what he said, of course, on Fox News. Joining us right now are two of those Texas Democrats. They are here in Washington, D.C. You have State Representative Ron Reynolds, and also we have State Representative Jasmine Crockett, both of them with the Texas Legislative Black Caucus. Glad to have both of you here. I was just talking about, again, the speech the president gave today. So I just want to get both of you, your thoughts on that speech. Sure, talked about voting rights, but the reality is people want to see action. Did you hear action? Did you hear a game plan? I'll start with you first, Representative Crockett.
Daggone it, I was hoping you were going to start with Reverend.
Ladies first.
You know, it's hard for me to, first of all, I appreciate your guest that you just interviewed with. It's hard for me to take a hard stance that would involve me being too critical of an administration that I'm asking for help from, right? I just can't. I don't know what the conversations are behind the scenes. If I was wearing my layperson hat, I probably would say that I would have liked to have seen more, you know, and that's because what I'm dealing with is, you know, a governor that is akin to a tyrant. He's like, I'll do whatever, because we're going to get these bills passed, right? Like he want to do whatever it takes to make sure that he suppresses votes. And so I would like a little bit of that vigor. Like, we're going to do whatever it takes. We're not going on break that we're supposed to be coming up on. Like, y'all are going to get something done because these legislators have left their families. They have risked, you know, being arrested. They can't even go back home right now. Like, I would like to see that. But, you know, everybody has their own style. But it's hard for me because we are doing everything within our power. And I'm unaware of, obviously, everything that the White House is doing. But I think I would have personally liked to see a little bit more.
Representative Reynolds, again, what people are looking for, they are looking for that plan of action. They're looking for, okay, what's next? I just walked through it. I walked through the entire speech here. I went through it. I didn't see any mention of Manchin, any mention of cinema, any mention of filibusters, heard none of that. And so we see what is ahead of us. We see, you know, what's going on. This is akin to somebody saying, we're going to repossess your car if you don't pay this. It's real simple. Either I come up with the money to pay for it or my car getting repossessed. Okay, there's no third alternative out there that's going to magically appear. The bottom line is this: 2 Democratic senators are stopping the ending of the filibuster. You can't get past that, it ain't happening. They already tried to vote on it, okay? You didn't get Republicans who sided with the Democrats. Simple as that. So the only option is to end the filibuster to pass these 2 bills. That's it. And so the White House has agreed they're going to meet with all of you. First of all, has it already happened, or is it a plan? But what's the plan nationally, and what are y'all telling Senate Democrats?
Well, Frat, first of all, it's good to be back on your show, a great alpha man and a great Texan. I agree with my colleague, Representative Crockett, and today we did meet with the White House. We met with Vice President Kamala Harris just before we got on your show. We had a great conversation with her, and I believe that she is a woman of action and a great part of our Divine Nine. I agree with you that we want to see strong rhetoric and action from President Biden. I believe that he is leading. I believe that he's trying to manage that delicate balance to push, as those civil rights leaders met with him recently and pushed him and nudged him to get to what he did today in Philadelphia. But we know that there's a delicate balance where he doesn't want to isolate or ostracize Manchin and Sinema because he doesn't want to risk pushing them to the other side. The Republicans are salivating to get them over to their side. But we know for a fact, if we don't stand now and get passage of H.R. 1 and H.R. 4, then our democracy is at stake. And more than likely, we're going to lose the House and the Senate in the midterm. So Republicans are not playing fair. They don't want to do any bipartisan support. When we passed the pivotal Voting Rights Act of 1965, which made it possible for me and Representative Crockett and so many others whose shoulders we stand on to hold public office today because it ended Jim Crow laws. If we don't be careful, they're going to take us back to those dark days. That's what the Republican leadership is trying to do. So damn with bipartisanship. It's time, as Majority Whip Clyburn said, to make an exception for the Voting Rights Act and get a filibuster, get the 50 senators and the vice president to break the tiebreaker and pass H.R. 1 and H.R. 4. I want to see the president come a little stronger. Maybe he's waiting to get them behind closed doors, but damn it, it is time to move this legislation forward.
Representative Crockett, Jeff Bennett of NBC tweeted this. Senator Joe Manchin says he will meet with the Texas Democrats, asked if he would support a carve-out in the filibuster just for voting rights legislation. Manchin wouldn't answer, saying only that he's anxious to meet with the legislators via NBC's Hill team.
Listen, that's something. I mean, when you think about what happened the first time we got here, when we first came up, he was like, I'm not doing H.R. 1. I'm not doing it. I mean, it was no, to the extent that, you know, he did an op-ed around where he stood on that. The fact that he didn't say no flat out gives me hope, because he has never been shy about saying no on these issues. You know, I believe that we were able to move the needle last time because we were able to tell him and his team exactly how bad things were. But at that time, we had killed the bill. We didn't know if we would officially be called back in. We didn't know what a new bill would look like. Well, now we have a new live bill. In fact, we've got two new bills, a Senate bill and a House bill. They're not identical. And so, you know, now we can say, listen, we did all that work. We tried to work with him. We went back because he appreciates bipartisanship. We did everything that we could. But out of almost 500 people that testified on Saturday, only 80-something of those people testified in favor of that bill. The other 400 testified against that bill. Do you think that that mattered when it came down to the vote? It didn't matter, not one iota. They did not care. And so seeing this and being able to say, listen, we tried it your way. And even when you look at the legislation that's being passed in these other states, I'm sure that those lawmakers tried it your way, but they are all being passed upon a partisan line. So it's time for him to show up for us. And I'm hoping that he's going to show up for us. And I'm okay if the carve out is just for this, but it's just that necessary right now.
You talked about Governor Greg Abbott, who just continued to lie and lie and lie. Representative Reynolds, here's the governor lying today on Fox News.
Last 30 days, and the governor calls them, and I will continue calling special session after special session because overtime is going to continue until they step up to vote. But Laura, I have to point this out. The thesis that they are operating under is completely false because what the Texas law does doesn't hinder anybody's ability to vote. In fact, interestingly, what Texas is seeking to do is to add additional hours to vote. Texas has 12 days of early voting, and the hours of which will be expanded, and we will ensure that hours are expanded on Election Day also. So their entire thesis is completely wrong. And compare early voting in Texas with early voting that we have in Delaware. Texas has 12 days of early voting. Delaware has 0 days of early voting. Why am I picking on Delaware? Because that is where the president himself voted in the last election. And if anybody wants to talk about voter suppression, they should be talking about Delaware, not Texas. Yeah. We have special sessions that last 30 days, and the governor calls them, and I will continue.
He doesn't want to talk about how they're severely curtailing drop boxes, how they're severely curtailing how you can vote. He was on Fox News on Chris Wallace on Sunday just acting a fool, saying, oh, that if you're doing drive-through voting in Harris County, you could have your employers in the car and they could be sitting here making you vote the way they want you to vote. And, you know, there's the sanctity of the ballot and all kind of nonsense like that.
Roland, you know, to be quite honest with you, there was once a time that I had respect for Governor Abbott, but I have no respect for him. Maya Angelou said it best. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. He showed me that he is praying at the Trump altar. He is perpetuating the big lie with his own Secretary of State that he picked, said that there was no election fraud. Absolutely none. So what he's doing is nothing more than on a political stage pandering to the far right, the same people that stormed our Capitol on January 6th. Those same people, those are the fringe people that he's catering to, not like Representative Crockett said, the overwhelming majority of Texans that said this is not what we want to do. The same people who are going to be disenfranchised, who look like us, black and brown folks. Those are the people that they don't care about. They don't care about Black Lives Matter. They care about the far right that's going to be voting in the next Republican primary. Those same people that believe Donald Trump's big lie, even though they know it's not true. And so I'm going to speak truth to power like Representative Crockett. And we're here in D.C. demanding, asking, pleading, begging, whatever it takes, get down on a knee, asking Sinema and Manchin, because it does go down to those two. We met with Senator Booker today, who's all on board with us. We know that the other Democrats are ready to roll and pass this legislation. So we're pleading to them with everything that we have. Our country is at stake. And just like a pivotal moment in 1965, when Lyndon Baines Johnson, a Texan, signed the Voting Rights Act of 1965, history will remember those who were on the wrong side of this issue. And I urge and plead with those two U.S. senators to do the right thing for the sake of our democracy.
Panel got questions. Mustafa, your question for our two Texas reps.
What is it that you would want from all of us out here to better be able to support you there in Texas as you are, you know, trying to make real change happen?
Yeah, you know, I think that you're doing exactly what we need. This issue has to stay on the forefront. All of you are involved in the media. You know what the cycle normally looks like. The news cycle goes like this. And so the fact that we're keeping this up is really starting to educate people, because you've got to continue to say it over and over and over before people really start to get it. So number one, we need to make sure that we keep the pressure up and make sure that we're keeping people informed. Number two, we really need the public to get involved. You know, it's not just us elected officials. There's only so many of us that are elected. We need the people to lobby and say, hey, this is what we need. At some point in time, we can move that needle if the people put enough pressure. So, you know, I want people making phone calls. I want people to establish protests. I want people sending emails. All those things that happen to us all the time, that honestly does make a difference. And we obviously need your support as well. Support your candidates that are actually doing right by you. Support your elected officials that are doing right by you, because it's not easy. We all made a sacrifice that none of us saw coming when we swore in for the 87th session. And so we need to know that you're behind us, that you're supporting us. Some of my colleagues are talking about some of the negative telephone calls that they're getting and how upsetting it is, the things that they say. Sometimes you never know what a good word could do to somebody on a bad day.
Teresa,
I would just briefly add.
Representative Reynolds, go ahead.
I would just real briefly add that we need people just like Fannie Lou Hamer, ordinary citizens, didn't have a title, that were just sick and tired of being sick and tired, to make some good and necessary trouble, to make sure that you're voting, to make sure that you're using your social media platforms to keep this conversation going, and to, by any means necessary, stay woke. Don't let this be the next news cycle and then something else happen, another unarmed black man gets shot, and then you're on to the next. We need to stick to this until Congress does the right thing. So make sure you stay the course. We can't just start this, get excited, and then we go on to the next one. We need to stay on this until we get it fixed. Otherwise, they're going to continue to suppress votes all around the country. It may happen to Georgia one day, Arizona the next day, Texas, and then they're going to go for all the other states where Republicans are led. Eventually, they'll take over this country. So we need to continue to fight and do everything we can to speak truth to power.
Teresa, your question.
Thank you, representatives. I just had a question regarding the relationship between some of the actions that has already been brought to the White House. So has the Biden administration been helping in terms of communicating with the senators who are, filibustering this bill? Like, has there been communication that you guys can share?
I will say that we met about 4 weeks ago with the Vice President Harris in the Rose Garden. And again, we met with Vice President Harris today. We have not had direct communication with President Biden, but we have met with his team and his surrogates. And I can tell you that they've been very helpful with messaging. We've met with the Vice President's communication team, Simone Sanders, who's phenomenal, and others who are helping us with messaging. They're helping us with resources. And so we believe that there is a good coordination and they're doing what they can. We like to see them do more, of course, but they are making good faith efforts. I believe that they've extended a olive branch and a hand, and they're giving us additional tools to use from a meeting we had with Vice President Harris today that we're going to use going forward. So there is an ongoing assistance and dialogue. We're on the same page. In fact, Vice President Harris mentioned it in her speech yesterday when we broke quorum that she was supportive of us. President Biden said it when it initially happened that he was supportive of it. So they're using their platform. They have the bully pulpit. They can help shape the narrative, and they have given some great assistance, and I'm very grateful for the assistance that they've given. We want them to continue to help us, and we desperately need all the help that we can receive at this time.
Ben, your question.
Yeah, Representative Crockett, as you were speaking, it made me think of the domino effect and the severity. Actually, as both of you were speaking, the domino effect and the severity of them not acting and securing our right to vote. Could you just kind of play out very quickly what you've seen in Texas and how deadly serious Republicans are in Texas about seizing power by any means necessary? What happens if the Democrats don't protect our vote?
Well, first of all, we're in a redistricting year. I'm sorry. They're trying to call me for an interview. We're in the middle of a redistricting year. And so what we're going to have is we're going to have these crazy lines that are going to be gerrymandered. We're going to lose seats in the U.S. Congress. We're probably going to lose seats as well as in the State House. And we may lose potentially one Senate seat as well, even though we know that the majority of the growth has been in the urban areas, which tend to trend more democratically. And so what we're going to see is the power grab that they're after. We don't know when, if ever, we will get a hold of really getting back to having real representation that represents the people in the state of Texas. They are going way too far.
Representative Reynolds, can you answer the question?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but the bottom line is there's going to be a lot of dark days ahead if we don't get this right. We're already dealing with ridiculous things like constitutional carry, which is permitless carry, which they passed. We're already dealing with them effectively ending a woman's right to choose. We're already dealing with a great pandemic that we didn't do anything to help people that, we still lead the nation in the number of uninsured with no Medicaid expansion, one of 12 states. We still don't have a livable wage. So there's so many issues. So it's going to get worse if we don't get this fixed, because you're going to see more and more Republican recalcitrants. You're going to see more and more fringe elements, this ridiculous notion of critical race theory. So there's going to be so much damage done to Black and brown communities, underserved communities, marginalized communities. And I'm very concerned about the future of the state of Texas if we don't get this right now.
All right, then. Representative Ron Reynolds, Representative Jasmine Crockett, we surely appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. And we'll keep staying on top of this issue. We appreciate it.
Folks, back to our roadblock unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.